Hi, my name is Kierstyn Kahler, and I took my travels to the Springfield Museums. The Springfield Museums consist of 5 different museums, but my main focus was on the George Walter Vincent Smith Art Museum. This beautiful place is an Italian palazzo-style building that was established in 1896. This museum had a fine assembly of Greek and Roman antiquities, along with many other international holdings from other eras. My first step once getting to the Springfield Museums was choosing the right one. I ended up going into the Fine Arts exhibit instead of the George Walter Vincent Smith Art Museum. Luckily, at the entrance of each museum, there was a person to help you navigate around the 5 museums and to find what you were looking for, whether it was an exhibit or just the museum itself. The different buildings held different art, such as natural sciences, interactive art, such as the Dr. Seuss Museum, fine arts, statues, and more. When I finally got to the right spot of the museum, I entered a massive room filled with statues upon statues upon statues. It was crazy. The room was green, which is pretty dull, but I guess it still managed to complement the color of the statues. As I look around, I notice that not many sculptures had labels. The sculptures that did have labels contained the name, the time period it was created, what materials were used to make it, and an overall description of the figurine. If I were to add anything to these labels, I kind of wish that they focused on its symbolism or deeper meaning, and maybe exactly like where it was discovered. Wandering through the endless abyss of colorless marble statues, I noticed something. It was a brightly colored sarcophagus. This captured my eye right away. This piece was made of sycamore wood with painted gesso. In my opinion, this was one of the most unique pieces in this exhibit. As I looked closely, I noticed such intricate detail and how it was portrayed in such a lovely manner. As we learned in this class, it's a sarcophagus is a very important piece of ancient Egyptian civilization, and the pharaohs are important to it too. Next to the sarcophagus, the label had quite a bit of information on this piece, and it informed us about what it was. This piece definitely was not displayed in an extravagant manner. There was a huge glare on it, and it was at an awkward level where I couldn't really see the sides unless I took a picture from the top, which I did, of course. By the foot of the sarcophagus, there were 2 pictures, one of a mummy and the other of a mummy's x-ray skull. I thought this was pretty interesting because this was the mummy that was found inside of the sarcophagus. As I put this all into context, I thought about it, and this person was probably really rich and highly respected, maybe a priest or a pharaoh, and he was buried in a sarcophagus like this, which meant a lot. Some of the items we studied in class this semester to resemble my chosen objects were tombs and sarcophaguses themselves. I felt that some of the detail on the sarcophagus in the George Walter Vincent Smith Museum stood up to the standards of those described in our readings. For example, directly in the middle, we see Horus, who is the son of Osiris, the supreme god. Horus is a god with a falcon-like shaped head and a manly body. Many believe that he represented the protector of Egypt. On the side of the sarcophagus, we notice hieroglyphics. All of these are symbolism, and it refers back to how the ruler was buried, and all of this detail was there for his afterlife. And all the writings on the sarcophagus are directions for him to follow to the gates of the afterlife, which is guarded by gods. Egyptian tombs are typically in pyramids and consist of rulers or priests or pharaohs. Within these tombs, pharaohs are buried with all of their belongings and any extra necessities they need to bring with them into their afterlife. In this picture in the upper right hand corner, this is all of King Tut's stuff that was buried with him. As you can see, this is quite a bit of stuff, and it's not even half of it. Below, you can see a layout of his tomb. And yeah, he had a lot of stuff buried with him, but clearly he had enough room to keep it all there. These tombs are massive and consist of a lot of wall paintings and many hieroglyphics as well. Next is a famous piece called the Papyrus of Hunnifer. In this, we see that there's like people lined up at the top, there's hieroglyphics, and there's a priest. We can tell this is a priest because of his white robe. Leading the priest is the god Anubis, who is a symbol of the afterlife. He is leading the priest to scale, which the scale will decide whether he has lived a bad life or a good life. As we can see, Anubis is running the scale, so they put a feather on the right side and the priest's heart on the left side. The feather represents Ma, which is the god of divine order. Anubis takes the priest's heart, and if it weighs more than the feather, he is devoured by Ammit, who is right next to Anubis by the scale, and he has a crocodile head and a lion body. But if the priest has lived a good life, he moves on to show that he has lived an ethical life. In the far right-hand side, we see another god. This is Thoth. Thoth records all of the proceedings of whether you have lived a good life or a bad life, and he gets all of this from Anubis. Now we have a bottom picture. So this is all one picture, but it's just split up into two. So in this bottom picture, we see the priest has gone along with another god. This god, as you can tell by his falcon-like head and manly body, is Horus, the son of Osiris. We can see here that Horus is bringing the priest to Osiris, and Osiris, therefore, declares him divine. Another topic is the Book of the Dead. Many priests and pharaohs are buried with this. The Book of the Dead are scriptures with spells and prayers that act as a guide or a passport into the next world or the afterlife. Overall, I thought the museum was really fun. I was a little confused at first, and I wished more displays had descriptions, especially from the Egyptian era, because that was one of my favorite. I also wish they went more into detail on what they already had. I thought it was a good basic museum, but it wasn't really exceptional, and I feel that it could be better. However, did I get catfished? Let's see. Well, seeing it in person was very different from seeing it online, but I don't think I was necessarily catfished. In person, it gives you more of a wow factor, but it looks exactly how you would picture it. Seeing all these statues and sarcophaguses online and in textbooks doesn't give you the real life significance. When you see it in person, all the pieces are put together, and honestly, Everything we have learned in class just hit me all at once. As I looked through the other exhibits in the George Walter Vincent Smith Art Museum, there was Israel, Japanese, and I realized how nice they were and just how much time and effort goes into the museum exhibition and into the paintings themselves, or sculptures. Even though I don't believe the statues in the George Walter Vincent Smith Art Museum had the best presentation with its dull coloring, it's kind of hard to make marble statues pop. I think that it was all one of a kind and it was all extremely beautiful.